You can catch my drift, I'm on some GM-ish.
Alright, so we gonna start this off with the chorus.
To the sound of the trumpets come from the sky and the Son of Man come. I be the ruler of my kingdom, rule with an iron fist to the day that I'm done. For every loss that I took, hoping a win would take shape of everything that makes me great. Play coy if you want, I won't be the one to tell you that's a great mistake. Don't expect y'all to understand my all-day grind or the things that come from my beautiful mind. But don't expect to bask in my light when you know it's my time to shine.
I started off with a biblical reference from the book in the Bible called the Revelations. This is where the Son of Man, who is Jesus Christ, is supposed to come down in the last days and retrieve all the saved souls. But before it actually happened, we're supposed to hear a sound from Gabriel's horn, letting us know that he's on his way. What my kingdom consists of is my talents, my family, my worldly possessions, or basically anything that God gives me to be the steward of. And I'm just saying I'm gonna be the best steward I can be until the day I die. We all gonna take L's, man, but what you're supposed to do with those L's is turn them into lessons, so that way you become a greater person in the midst of it. You're gonna have individuals or maybe just one person that's gonna play dumb or underestimate you and act like they don't know what you're capable of doing. But what I'm saying is, I don't have time to tell you that you're making a mistake with the decisions you're making. I come to a point where I'm not trying to seek to be understood no more, man. All I'm trying to do is just really create and keep doing that and putting content out and being the best person I can be. Now, I did use a reference in this point where it came from this movie called A Beautiful Mind. Character in that movie was John Nash, brilliant mathematician that made a quantum leap discovery in history. But in the midst of that, he was kind of quirky and misunderstood, despite the fact that he was brilliant. Let y'all watch the movie for the rest of that, but that's what a reference in. Basically, if you wasn't with me when I was grinding and in the trenches and bearing these fruit and trying to get it out there, don't come when it's done. Point blank. All right, so now it's time for this first verse breakdown. It's crazy. It's a lot of punchlines in it.
Keen individual, noble men of God, but God, I work goddamn hard to raise the bar every time my number was called. But the people you told me to set examples for pays no attention. I'm rather appalled.
I started it off with an acronym with the word king. It's basically my definition of it, or at least for this particular song. I start talking to God, expressing my disdain attitude about what he called me to be, to set this example for my group of peers and my generation on how things could be and how to run. But through me giving my message, I feel like it's falling on deaf ears, and it's starting to become real baffling to me.
Shit's starting to feel like a bunk mission. Everybody wanna be a Bobby Johnson. I'm the one teaching the lessons of Bobby Fischer, and I'm the one learning a lesson in this adventure.
So at this point, I'm like, man, this is pointless. What's the point in trying to tell people a message when everybody want to be glorified trap stars, amongst other things? Here it is, I'm trying to be Bobby Fischer and they being Bobby Johnson in the instant. But in the midst of me thinking like that, I figured out the lesson for myself. Now, the references I used was Bobby Johnson and Bobby Fischer. Bobby Johnson is a fictional character in a movie called South Central, where he was a gang member. He sold drugs and killed somebody and went to jail. Y'all can watch the movie and all that on your own time, but that's the premise of what he did. But also the reference came from the song that came out a couple of years back called OG Bobby Johnson. Y'all can check that out on your own time as well. It'll make more sense for this song, for that punchline. Now, I'm alluding them to my peers. Now, Bobby Fischer is alluding to me. He's a known grandmaster chess player that used very intricate cerebral tactics to beat his notable opponents in his time. And I'm using Bobby Fischer tactics, using my mind to teach people how to do stuff better, or basically what I'd call to do, and people will want to be OG Bobby Johnson in the midst of that.
So in 2 days, niggas focus on. That's the day you rise and the day you fall. You gon' be waiting a long time for my descent. Ever since my wonder years, I've been known to ball. And I can't afford to focus on your hating deceit. Got better things to do, like treat my sunburns from Laguna Beach heat. Can't believe I'm repeating myself. Didn't I give you the same sermon and preach?
Man, it's really only two things people focus on, man. Or 2 days, I should say. That's the day you rise and the day you fall. All that other shit in between, ain't nobody really focused on that. So I addressed that by basically saying to all my peers, haters, whoever, hey man, I'm here to stay. I've been here for a long time and I don't plan on falling off no time soon. And while I'm doing it, I'm really enjoying life, man, and I don't have time to address no hatred or none of that. I did use a reference from my old song Preach where I said I don't have time for accusations and questions. But I said it on this, didn't I give you the same sermon to preach? Like, man, I keep reiterating this to y'all. I really don't have time for this. Another reference I used was Wonder Years, which was a 90s TV show that I used to look at when I was a kid. I was just alluding to that, letting you know how long it's been since I've known I was destined to be great for, or destined for this position that I'm in.
You a grandmaster, gotta stay steps ahead to keep the king gotta reach. Not to mention when you got a queen and two knights that won't hesitate to guillotine you the moment that they sense a threat. You won't see them coming, they won't break a sweat. Been in the game long before the deals and the multiple checks. Could've been the type that'll walk in the office with a tank top and sweats and put everybody ass in check. But when your aura like mine, you don't flex your chest. You let the numbers do the talking, they can speak for themselves.
Man, I'm constantly revamping how I make moves and try to keep myself out of unfavorable positions. Now, I've been using a lot of chess references lately. But here's another one. So the queen references my wife, and then the two knights references my kids. Now, obviously, you know a little bit about chess. You know, queen and the knight is pieces that keep the king out of reach. Now, these cats, they very protective, and they can be a little bit overprotective of me sometimes, but I definitely appreciate it. But if they sense any threat that comes in this circle or circumference, they would not hesitate to move. And it's so crazy because they so cerebral, you won't even know that it's done till after it's done. So that transitions to the part where I'm talking about music. And I've been, honestly, man, I've been doing music long before checks, long before submissions and all that shit came into play. I've been doing it since it was free for me, and I was just giving out mixtapes and stuff. Quite frankly, I could have came out in a whole different way, talking smack or whatever the case may be, or just addressing people in general who I felt like was coming at me wrong with a hood mentality. But I think what happens is when you're trying to grow your aura and you do grow in your characteristics, you realize that ain't the way to move and try to address situations. You got to be more cerebral and use more tact and cool. So I don't plan on using those type of methods. Not to mention, the number I'm worried about, that's the only one that speaks for me. So all that other stuff that people focus on, I ain't really focused on that. Just that one number.
I don't need no throne, homie, hand me a chair. I'll make it do what it do, but whatever is there. Using a 34th law in my 29th year made me see the error of my ways in my adolescent days. Brawn was overused, brain was undertrained, body was overworked, and pockets was underweight.
And you can plant me anywhere. I don't need no seat at the table. I don't need no throne, none of that stuff. You plant me somewhere with my feet, and I can reside, and give me my faith, and I can make it happen anywhere I go. I use this reference from the 48 Laws of Power. It's the 34th law where it says, in order to be treated as a king, you have to act like a king. Obviously, I feel like I've been acting like that for a long time, so that hasn't been a problem. But the thing is certain things that I feel like I wasn't figuring out until I got a little bit older and wiser and started going through some stuff, and I realized it was some mistakes I was making. One of the biggest mistakes I was making was using brawn over the brain, in the sense of using all my physical attributes from work, using all the physical things, or retaliating using verbal, which is still physical, to address situations, as opposed to using my mind before I actually move out. For us work-wise, using the mind to figure out how can I make money without lifting a finger, because I was overworking myself and I wasn't seeing the benefits from it. Or talking to people who was coming at me with different things, and it's like I'm trying to address them in a bad way. Instead of thinking it out first, I decided to react, and that causes conflict.
There's a difference between yellow piss and lemonade. And if you hand me a treat, depending on how you view it, you can be assisting with a breeze of secretly throwing the shade.
I use a reference of yellow piss and lemonade. Now, come on, man. Obviously, we know the difference. But for this reference right here, we both know both hues are some shades of yellow. And if you look at it from afar, you probably can't tell which one is which. But the more you dissect it or come closer to it and observe, you start to see that one may have a different hue, or it may give off a smell. Either way, you know one is not for you, and it ain't nothing good about it. My last part of this verse was alluding to trees, the breeze, and shade. Obviously, people gonna come into your life where they're really trying to support you because they want to see you make it in life, man. So they'll do anything they can via the breeze. The people who I take as the shade, or people that's coming into your life with an ulterior motive. These people, they seek out information. They may even help you, but the thing is, why are they helping you? They may end up using the information if you end up outgrowing them for whatever reason, or y'all go in separate ways. They may use that information to throw muck on your name. which would be considered throwing shade. And that concludes first verse, so we're gonna jump into the second one real quick.
I feast with the lions, you break bread with the pigeons. I'm branded with coke, you bagging coke in the kitchen. And these ain't jabs that's meant for the dissing, but it may take a punch or two to grab your attention. See?
My first half of my second verse, it consists of kind of like a rap battle, but my rap battle was against my group of peers that see things in a different way. So I jump off by basically saying this, like, I only deal with like-minded people. When I mean like-minded people, for me, I mean people that's on a constant growth chase and always trying to strive to be better. Iron sharpens iron, basically. But you, group of peers who I'm going against, you choosing to hang with people that has no intention on growing whatsoever. And you staying there and ain't growing either. And you guys ain't helping one another and staying stagnant. Hence why I use the reference of a pigeon, because we all view pigeons as the lowest bird on the totem pole. I follow that up with another Coke reference, where it's an analogy of Coke, where I'm saying, for me, I'm talking about my brand becoming a marketable entity, but for you, you're using Coke to bag up in a kitchen and sell to people on the street, hence still not growing and staying in the same place. In boxing, a jab is considered one of the weaker punches, but it's to set up a bigger blow. But I actually use this as a positive format. So I hit you with a jab or a pot shot with the you bagging up Coke and selling, or hanging with people that don't intend on growing to get your attention. Now I'm hitting you with the hook or something that's gonna knock you out, but in a positive way, saying, man, you much better than that.
We both like math, but our answers different. I spit shit that add and multiply vision, but you don't see your brother, see your competition. So you subtract from the sum and cause a division, and that only equates to collision, because I'm giving facts and you giving depiction, and that only causes more and more attrition to these young cats that got more than enough confliction on their mind that they already deal with. But we all got an opinion on what real is. With that said, it forces me to come to conclusions and compose what the real terms of the deal is.
From my standpoint, I aspire to give positive energy and add to your fruit. Always giving knowledge and education on things that I can help through my music, hence adding and multiplying. But you, on the other hand, you don't see me as a brother. You see me as competition for whatever reason. And so you trying to tear me down when I want to build together. Hence why I said subtraction and divide. Those things take away or make numbers smaller. So as a result, we equate to fighting one another's thought process, because in my standpoint, I feel like I give truth and reality about the life that we live or the things that we've done. And you're giving a false depiction of what that life is, which eventually causes a sense of confusion to these young cats, because they looking on social media or whatever outlet they use and seeing that the life that we seen in the hood or wherever we are that's negative, seen in a positive light. But as a result, it's causing attrition. People ending up dead and in jail because they trying to follow some lifestyle that they think is going to get them the girls, the money, or whatever it is that they see that's living a life. And that's a false depiction to me. At the end of the day, man, we in a social media world where everybody got an opinion, they got their platform, and everybody got a definition of what real is. At this point, I end the rap battle and I go into what my definition of being 100 is. And you can take it how you want it. You can agree, disagree, however.
Life is an hourglass, I can't waste a 60. I fuck with who fuck with me, and if you don't, then I move Taylor swiftly, because I be damned if it's high noon and y'all K.I.N.G Wild Wild West me.
Life is way too short. I only deal with people who want to deal with me. This bottom half of it, I use the reference pertaining to Kanye West's name, Taylor Swift's name, and the incident that happened at an award show. It all ties together. So I start off by saying I move Taylor swiftly, meaning anybody that I can't come to a consensus with, we don't always have to agree. I feel that. But at the same time, if we can't come together and agree to disagree like grown men and women, then we can't occupy the same breathing space. Back in the cowboy movies, high noon is a time where cowboys, it's a standoff with two guns or a gun where they're drawing on each other. What I'm saying here, and it's kind of going into the interruption part on the award show, is I ain't trying to let you interrupt nothing I got going on or Kanye Wild Wild West me at high noon. You trying to get me in a standoff and pull your verbal guns out and start shooting at me, and you interrupting my whole process, and I ain't trying to let you do that. So I'm moving Taylor swiftly away from that. It's high noon, but I'd be damned if you Kanye Wild Wild West me.
Don't need your approval to know that God bless me. Pretty sure after this verse, labels done X me off the list of signees, and that used to vex me, cause I used to think ball soul and that's what it checks me. But let's be honest, most of y'all ain't seen no guap, and they lead y'all blind like pigs to a trough, and I'd be damned if I think that's the only way to pop.
I don't need nobody's approval, bro. God has already approved me for what I'm doing. I'm just waiting for him to break me out the box. Obviously, when you start spitting verses like this that can be a little bit controversial, you may step on somebody's toes and they may be offended, especially when you're talking to specific groups. I'm actually addressing in this point some of the record labels. Not all of them, but some of them, and I feel like they're doing this. I'm at this point where it's like, look, dude, I don't even think I'm getting signed, don't even plan on getting signed. Because of the fact of the matter is, the criteria that I thought brings the books or brings the talent is the lyrical content. But that's not what the criteria is nowadays. At least it looks that way because what's being put out. So I'm like, well, I ain't tripping about that shit, man. I'ma still do me anyways, even though, you know, you choosing to do that. I did follow up with an address to the future artists or the artists that sign. Look, just because it look like they making money from these deals don't necessarily mean they are. And people continue to line up for these same situational deals and stuff like that, like pigs to a trough. And I'm just not in that line.
Cause I'm like Wale, hey, I'm gifted with the flow. You like John Legend, you get lifted with the flow. Can't give you views, but food with the flow. Cause this is something you can eat wherever you go. I'm far from a money hungry young and wooed by a couple grand. More fascinated by something that can grow beyond 10 lifespans. That's called scoring buckets using your offhand.
On this part, I actually played on three albums. You got Wale, The Gifted, you got John Legend, Get Lifted, and then you have Drake Views album. I'm pretty talented, bro. So what I use my time for is I use it to empower, you know, give people knowledge on things to help them through their daily lives or whatnot, just from my point of view. Again, it ain't always right. I use the word food as a metaphoric word for information. And information can be found all throughout my music. All you gotta do is listen to it. And in fact, you can take it everywhere you go. And I transition to this point where I'm expressing myself, where I'm saying, look, you got to come with more than just small change, man. I'm trying to do something that's gonna leave a legacy behind and leave my family financially stable for years to come. So if you're gonna come with any kind of deals, or just in general, if you're gonna come in this circle, it better be for the betterment of my environment. Otherwise, I'm good right where I'm at, where I'm grinding at, and eventually it's gonna happen for me anyway. So this last punchline I'll finish it off with is a basketball reference. You got your strong hand or your dominant hand, and then you got your weak hand or your off hand. Scoring buckets with your off hand is basically saying, even though I score buckets with my right, which is dominant, I can also score with my left. So I'm telling that music is my strong hand or my dominant hand that I score with. But those business ventures that have nothing to do with music and I'm still making lucrative moves and making money from, that will be considered my offhand, scoring buckets with your offhand. That being said, that's the whole interpretation of King.
I don't wait for opportunity.